You're the nice guy who does everything right. So why does she always choose the guy who barely texts back? The answer is the brutal truth about attraction you need to hear right now. You do everything right. You're respectful, you listen, you're always available when she needs you. You open doors, you remember her favorite coffee order, you text her good morning every single day. You're the guy her friends say she should date, the one her mother would love. So why does she end up with the guy who barely responds to her texts? Why does she choose the man who challenges her, who's sometimes unavailable, who doesn't bend over backwards to accommodate her every whim? Here's the brutal truth that nobody wants to tell you. Being a nice guy is relationship suicide. It's the fastest way to kill attraction, destroy mystery, and land yourself permanently in the friend zone. And the cost? It's devastating. You watch as the women you care about choose men who treat them worse than you ever would. You become bitter, cynical, and start believing that women only want jerks. You begin to resent the very qualities that make you a decent human being. But here's what's really happening. You're not losing because you're too good. You're losing because you fundamentally misunderstand how attraction works. Today, we're dissecting the psychology of attraction and the real reasons why being a nice guy is a recipe for failure. We'll talk about predictability and the dopamine drop that kills desire. We'll explore why your availability is actually making you less valuable in her eyes. And here's the kicker. There's one thing you do that you think shows how much you care, but she secretly interprets it as manipulation and neediness. As a coach who has seen countless men make these exact mistakes, let me be clear. The goal isn't to become a jerk. It's to understand that nice and good are not the same thing. A good man has boundaries, standards, and a life of his own. A nice guy sacrifices all of that for female approval. If this resonates with you, hit that subscribe button and like this video. More importantly, drop a comment below and tell me about your experience being the nice guy. Your story might help another man break free from this trap. Let's start with the first reason women lose interest in nice guys so fast. You're being overly predictable and available. Now, you think this is a winning strategy. Your logic is simple. If I'm always there for her, if I drop everything when she calls, if I'm completely reliable and consistent, she'll see my value and choose me over other guys. You believe that your constant availability demonstrates your commitment and care. Here's the hidden truth that destroys this approach. Predictability is the enemy of attraction. When you're always available, always responding instantly, always accommodating her schedule, you eliminate all mystery and challenge from the dynamic. Attraction requires tension, uncertainty, and a dopamine hit that comes from not knowing what's next. When she knows exactly how you'll respond to everything, when she can predict your every move, her brain stops releasing the chemicals that create desire. Think about it this way. When you text her back within 30 seconds every single time, when you always agree with her opinions, when you cancel your plans the moment she suggests hanging out, you're telegraphing something dangerous. You're showing her that nothing in your life is more important than her attention. You have no mission, no purpose, no standards that take priority over her whims. The danger for you is severe. She starts seeing you as someone with no life of his own. Your value plummets because you're always accessible. You become a convenience, not a desire. She knows that whenever she's bored, lonely, or needs an ego boost, you'll be there. But she also knows that you'll always be there, so there's no rush, no excitement, no fear of loss that drives attraction. The mindset shift you need is this. Have your own mission and purpose that takes priority over any woman. Be less available. Let her wonder what you're up to sometimes. When she texts, don't always respond immediately. Have plans that you won't change for her unless it's genuinely important. This isn't about playing games. It's about being a man with a life worth living, independent of female validation. The second major mistake is excessive validation and approval seeking. You think that constantly complimenting her, agreeing with everything she says, and never challenging her opinions will make her feel good around you and therefore want to be with you. You believe that if you validate her enough, she'll reciprocate with romantic interest. But here's what actually happens in her mind. When you agree with everything she says, when you shower her with compliments for basic things, when you never push back on her ideas or decisions, you're not showing her how much you value her. You're showing her how much you need her approval. And neediness is attraction poison. Women are attracted to men who have their own opinions, their own standards, their own frame of reference that doesn't shift based on what she wants to hear. When you constantly validate her without any pushback, you're essentially communicating that your opinions and thoughts are less important than making her feel good. This might seem caring, but it reads as weakness. Consider these concrete examples. She mentions she's thinking about quitting her job to become a full time influencer with 50 followers, and you immediately say, "That's amazing, follow your dreams." Instead of asking thoughtful questions about her plan, she complains about her friend, and you automatically take her side without understanding the full situation. She mentions she likes a terrible movie, and you pretend to love it too instead of playfully disagreeing. The danger here is that she stops respecting your judgment and opinion. If you agree with everything, your agreement becomes worthless. She starts seeing you as someone who will say anything for her approval, which makes you seem inauthentic and manipulative. She begins to question whether you actually have any real thoughts or if you're just a mirror reflecting what you think she wants to see. The solution is to be authentically yourself, have opinions, and express them respectfully. If she says something you disagree with, engage in thoughtful conversation about it. Compliment her when she genuinely impresses you, not just for existing. Challenge her ideas when appropriate. This doesn't mean being argumentative or difficult. It means being real and having a backbone. The third critical error is putting her on a pedestal and treating her like she's perfect. You think that by treating her like a princess, by acting like she's the most amazing woman who ever lived, by never criticizing or questioning anything about her, you're showing her how much she means to you. You believe this special treatment will make her feel so valued that she'll naturally want to be with you. This is completely backwards. When you put someone on a pedestal, you're positioning yourself beneath them. You're communicating that she's inherently more valuable than you are. And here's a fundamental truth about attraction: we're attracted to people we perceive as equal or slightly higher value than ourselves, not people who worship us. Moreover, when you treat her like she's perfect, you're not seeing her as a real human being. You're seeing her as an idealized fantasy. This puts enormous pressure on her to maintain this perfect image. And it also means you're not actually connecting with who she really is. You're connecting with who you imagine her to be. Look at the evidence of this behavior. You never call her out when she's being unreasonable. You excuse behavior from her that you wouldn't tolerate from anyone else. You act like her basic human qualities are extraordinary achievements. You're afraid to show any negative emotions around her because you don't want to ruin her image of you. The danger is that she loses respect for you entirely. A woman wants a man who sees her clearly, both her strengths and her flaws, and chooses her anyway. When you pretend she has no flaws, she knows you're either lying or deluding yourself. Either way, it feels fake and uncomfortable. She also realizes that if she's perfect in your eyes, then your standards are incredibly low, which makes her question your value. The mindset shift is crucial. See her as a real human being with both positive qualities and areas for growth, just like everyone else. Treat her well because you choose to, not because you think she's inherently superior to you. Have standards and boundaries. Be willing to walk away if she doesn't meet them. This isn't about being mean or critical, it's about being real and maintaining your self respect. Fourth, and this is huge, you're overinvesting emotionally and financially before she's earned it. You think that by showing her how much you care early on, by buying her expensive gifts, by sharing your deepest feelings and future plans before you really know her, you're demonstrating your serious intentions and commitment. You believe this will make her feel secure and special. But you're actually triggering her alarm bells. When you invest heavily in someone before they've invested in you, you create an imbalance that feels uncomfortable and suspicious. She starts wondering why you're so willing to give so much to someone you barely know. The answer she comes up with is usually that you're either desperate or manipulative. Think about how this looks from her perspective. You've known her for 3 weeks and you're already talking about your future together. You buy her an expensive necklace for her birthday when you've been on 2 dates. You share your deepest insecurities and childhood traumas during the first month. You're more excited about the relationship than she is, which puts pressure on her to either reciprocate feelings she doesn't have or feel guilty for not matching your intensity. The concrete evidence of overinvestment includes expensive gifts early in the relationship, saying, I love you before she's ready. Making long term plans together before establishing a solid foundation, sharing deeply personal information too quickly, being more available for her than she is for you, sacrificing your own needs and goals for the relationship immediately. The danger is that she feels overwhelmed and pressured. She starts backing away because the relationship feels too intense too fast. She might also lose respect for you because you're giving away your valuable resources, your time, money, and emotional energy without requiring her to earn them. This makes you seem either desperate for any woman's attention or naive about your own value. The solution is to match her level of investment. Let the relationship develop naturally and reciprocally. Don't be more invested than she is. Make her earn your deeper emotional investment and financial resources through her actions and consistency over time. This isn't about being stingy or cold. It's about creating a balanced dynamic where both people are contributing and working towards something together. The fifth mistake that kills attraction is having no boundaries or standards whatsoever. You think that by being completely accommodating, by never saying no, by accepting any behavior from her, you're showing her how easygoing and accepting you are. You believe that having no demands or expectations will make you the ideal boyfriend compared to other guys who might have requirements. This approach backfires spectacularly because boundaries and standards are attractive. They show that you value yourself and have self respect. When you have no boundaries, you're essentially telling her that you'll accept anything because you don't believe you deserve better. This isn't attractive. It's concerning. Here's the psychology behind why this fails. People are attracted to individuals who are selective about who they let into their lives. When you have no standards, it suggests that you're not selective at all, which makes her wonder what's wrong with you that you need to accept everyone and everything. It also means she doesn't feel special for being with you because clearly you'd be with anyone who showed you attention. The evidence of having no boundaries includes accepting disrespectful behavior without addressing it, allowing her to cancel plans repeatedly without consequences, letting her treat you worse than she treats other people in her life, never expressing your needs or preferences, always deferring to what she wants to do, tolerating behavior that makes you uncomfortable because you don't want to seem difficult. The danger for you is that she loses all respect for you. She might even start testing your boundaries just to see if you have any. When she realizes you'll accept anything, she stops seeing you as a potential romantic partner and starts seeing you as someone she can use for validation, attention, or favors without giving anything in return. You become a doormat instead of a boyfriend. The mindset shift is essential. Develop clear boundaries and standards for how you expect to be treated. Communicate them respectfully but firmly. Be willing to walk away from anyone who consistently violates them. Having standards doesn't make you difficult. It makes you someone worth being with. A high quality woman will respect your boundaries and appreciate that you have self respect. The sixth major issue is the lack of a personal mission or purpose beyond getting her approval. You think that making her the center of your universe shows dedication and love. You believe that prioritizing her above everything else in your life demonstrates how important she is to you. You might even think this is romantic. But here's the reality. A man without his own mission is incredibly unattractive. When your entire sense of purpose revolves around making one woman happy, you become needy, clingy, and boring. You have nothing interesting to talk about because you're not doing anything interesting with your life. You have no passion or drive that exists independent of her, which makes you seem incomplete as a person. Women are attracted to men who are going somewhere in life and who have goals and ambitions that inspire them. They want to be part of your journey, not the entire destination. When you make her your whole world, you're putting enormous pressure on her to be responsible for your happiness and fulfillment. That's not romantic. It's suffocating. Consider the evidence. You have no hobbies or interests that don't involve her. You've stopped hanging out with friends because you'd rather spend time with her. You have no career ambitions or personal goals that you're actively pursuing. Your conversations revolve entirely around her and the relationship. You have no opinion about current events, books, movies, or anything else because you're not engaging with the world outside of her. The danger is that she becomes bored with you because you're not growing or evolving as a person. She might initially enjoy being the center of your world, but eventually it becomes a burden. She realizes that dating you means dating someone who has no life of his own, which is ultimately unfulfilling. She wants a partner who can challenge her, inspire her, and bring new experiences and perspectives to her life. The solution is to develop your own mission and purpose that exists completely independent of any romantic relationship. Pursue your career goals, develop hobbies and interests, maintain your friendships, work on personal growth, contribute to causes you care about. Be someone who would be living an interesting and fulfilling life, even if you were single. This makes you infinitely more attractive because you're bringing value to the relationship instead of just seeking it. Here's the seventh and perhaps most crucial point: you're afraid of conflict and avoid any form of disagreement. You think that keeping the peace at all costs will create harmony in the relationship. You believe that if you never argue, never challenge her, never express frustration or disappointment, you'll be the drama free option she chooses over more volatile guys. This is a massive mistake because conflict avoidance actually creates more problems than it solves. When you refuse to address issues, they don't disappear. They build up under the surface until they explode or until she loses respect for you entirely. Moreover, the ability to navigate conflict constructively is a sign of emotional maturity and relationship readiness. Here's what happens psychologically when you avoid all conflict. She starts to see you as weak and non confrontational. She begins to question whether you'll be able to stand up for yourself, for her, or for your future family when it matters. She might even unconsciously start creating conflict just to see if you'll finally show some backbone and engage. The evidence of conflict avoidance includes changing the subject when she brings up relationship issues, apologizing for things that aren't your fault just to end disagreements, agreeing to things you don't actually agree with to avoid arguments, never expressing when something bothers you, walking away from important conversations, pretending everything is fine when it clearly isn't. The danger is that she loses respect for your ability to handle difficult situations. She starts to see you as someone who will fold under pressure, which makes her question whether you can be a reliable partner in life's inevitable challenges. She might also feel frustrated because she can't have real conversations with you about important issues. The mindset shift you need is this: learn to engage in conflict constructively. This means addressing issues directly but respectfully, expressing your feelings and needs clearly, listening to her perspective, and working together to find solutions. Conflict isn't the enemy of relationships. Poor conflict resolution is. A woman wants a man who can handle difficult conversations and work through problems together, not someone who runs away from any sign of disagreement. The eighth critical mistake is telegraphing romantic interest way too early and too intensely. You think that being completely transparent about your feelings will be refreshing and honest compared to guys who play games. You believe that telling her you're falling in love, that you want a serious relationship, that you're thinking about marriage will show her your genuine intentions and make her feel secure. But you're actually creating pressure and discomfort. When you express intense romantic feelings before she's developed similar feelings, you put her in an awkward position where she feels like she needs to either reciprocate emotions she doesn't have or reject you outright. This forces her to make a decision about the relationship before she's ready. Here's the psychological reality: attraction and feelings need time to develop naturally. When you rush this process by declaring your intentions too early, you're essentially trying to shortcut the natural progression of emotional connection. This feels inauthentic and manipulative, even if that's not your intention. The evidence includes saying, "I love you" within the first few weeks, talking about marriage and kids on early dates, constantly telling her how much she means to you before you really know each other, making grand romantic gestures before you've established a solid foundation, being more emotionally invested in the outcome than she is. The danger is that she feels pressured to reciprocate feelings she doesn't have, which creates anxiety and discomfort around you. She might start pulling away because the relationship feels too intense too fast. She also might question the authenticity of your feelings. After all, how can you be in love with someone you barely know? This makes your expressions of emotion seem shallow and desperate rather than genuine. The solution is to let feelings develop naturally and reciprocally. Express appreciation and interest proportionate to how well you actually know each other and how much you've both invested in the relationship. Match her pace rather than trying to accelerate it. This creates a more comfortable and authentic dynamic where both people can explore their feelings without pressure. Now, let's talk about the ninth reason women lose interest in nice guys. You're seeking validation and approval instead of genuinely connecting. You think that by constantly asking if she's happy, if she likes you, if you're doing everything right, you're showing how much you care about her feelings and the relationship. You believe this attentiveness will make her feel valued and secure, but what you're actually doing is making the relationship all about your need for reassurance rather than about getting to know her as a person. When you're constantly seeking validation, you're not present in the relationship. You're anxious about the relationship. This anxiety is contagious and makes her feel uncomfortable and uncertain too. The psychology here is clear. Confidence is attractive and neediness is not. When you constantly need reassurance that you're doing okay, that she likes you, that the relationship is going well, you're demonstrating a fundamental lack of confidence in yourself and your value. This makes her question why she should be confident in you if you're not confident in yourself. Look for these signs in your behavior, constantly asking, "Are you okay?" or "Did I do something wrong?" Needing frequent reassurance that she likes you and wants to be with you, analyzing every text message and interaction for signs of her interest level, apologizing excessively for normal human behavior, asking her friends what they think of you instead of letting your actions speak for themselves. The danger is that your neediness becomes exhausting for her. She feels like she's constantly managing your emotions and insecurities instead of enjoying the relationship. She starts to see you as someone who needs to be taken care of emotionally rather than someone who can be a strong, supportive partner for her. The mindset shift is crucial. Focus on getting to know her rather than on whether she likes you. Be present in conversations and experiences rather than constantly monitoring her reactions. Develop confidence in your own value so you don't need constant external validation. Trust that if you're being your authentic self and treating her well, the relationship will develop naturally or it won't, and either outcome is okay. The final and perhaps most damaging mistake is this: you're not being selective about who you pursue romantically. You think that by being interested in any woman who shows you attention, you're increasing your chances of finding love. You believe that having low standards means more opportunities. This approach completely backfires because it communicates desperation. When a woman realizes that you'd be equally excited to date her or any other woman, she doesn't feel special or chosen. She feels like a placeholder, whoever happened to be available when you decided you wanted a girlfriend. Here's the psychological truth: people are attracted to those who choose them specifically, not those who would choose anyone. When you have no criteria for who you pursue beyond female and single, you're essentially telling every woman you meet that you don't actually see anything unique or special about her. You're just looking for any woman to fill the girlfriend role in your life. The evidence of being non selective includes being equally interested in women regardless of compatibility, having no deal breakers or non negotiables in relationships, pursuing women you don't actually have much in common with just because they're attractive or available, never ending relationships that clearly aren't working because you're afraid of being alone, settling for poor treatment because you don't want to start over. The danger is that you end up in relationships with women who aren't right for you, and they sense that you're not with them because you genuinely want to be with them specifically, but because you want to be with someone, anyone. This creates relationships built on desperation rather than genuine compatibility and attraction. The solution is to develop clear criteria for what you want in a partner and stick to them. Be willing to be single rather than settle for someone who doesn't meet your standards. This selectiveness makes you more attractive because it shows you have options and standards. When you do choose someone, they'll know it's because you actually want them specifically, not just because you want a girlfriend. Let me summarize what we've covered, because these points build on each other to create a complete picture of why the nice guy approach fails so consistently. You're being overly predictable and available, which kills mystery and attraction. You're seeking validation and approval instead of being authentic. You're putting women on pedestals instead of seeing them as real people. You're over-investing before they've earned it. You have no boundaries or standards. You lack personal mission and purpose. You avoid conflict at all costs. You telegraph romantic interest too early and intensely. You seek validation instead of connection. And you're not selective about who you pursue. Each of these behaviors stems from the same fundamental misunderstanding. You think attraction works like a transaction. You believe that if you put in enough nice behavior, you'll get romantic interest in return. But attraction doesn't work that way. It's not a vending machine where you insert kindness and receive love. The goal here isn't to become a jerk or to treat women poorly. The goal is to become a good man with a backbone, standards, and a life of his own. There's a massive difference between being nice and being good. Nice is often about seeking approval and avoiding conflict. Good is about having integrity, treating people with respect, and standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult. A good man is infinitely more attractive than a nice guy because he's authentic, confident, and selective. He treats women well because he chooses to, not because he's hoping for something in return. He has his own life, goals, and standards that exist independent of any romantic relationship. He's capable of handling conflict, expressing his needs, and walking away from situations that don't serve him. Women don't want a nice guy who will agree with everything they say and do anything for their approval. They want a good man who isn't afraid to be polarizing, who has his own opinions and standards, and who chooses them specifically because they're compatible and bring out the best in each other. If this video has opened your eyes to the mistakes you've been making, I need you to do 3 things right now. First, hit that subscribe button because we're going to keep diving deep into the psychology of attraction and relationships. Second, smash that like button if this content has been valuable to you. Third, share this video with a friend who's stuck in the friend zone. He needs to hear this message. Remember this: attraction isn't about being perfect or never making mistakes. It's about being real, having standards, and choosing someone because you genuinely want them in your life, not because you need them for validation. Stop being nice. Start being real.